All right, we're good. In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to the grand finale of The Glass House. Lynley, are you ready for this?
That kind of made me cry.
We've done 148 episodes, I was told.
Is that right?
Yep.
It's been, so is this 149?
This is 148.
This is 148 right here.
We just
But
a bit shy of 150.
We may break it into 3 parts just so we can get to 150.
10 minutes each.
But in case you haven't heard, Lynley and I are going on a new adventure. And we're going back to the Glass House. We began this thing with a real burden to love on pastors and wives and ministry people who are just out there in the trenches serving the Lord. And COVID had happened. There was all kinds of crazy things. And we just thought, man, we need to stir up a place for conversations for pastors and wives to feel seen and heard and valued. And now we're going back to doing that again. Mm-hmm. And so today what we wanted to do is we wanted to take a little time and just tell you the story of how we came to the place of yielding to the call to go to Bellevue. And then we wanted to at least take a little time to highlight a few of our favorite moments that just continue to stick out in our minds over these years. So here's how it began.
Well, you want me to tell the part?
I really would love, it really started with a moment Lynley had at a funeral.
Yeah.
I'm going to hand it off to you.
So, not this past December, but the December before that, we were at the funeral of Dr. Jett, who I believe actually Ben has interviewed before on here. And he had passed away unexpectedly. And so Ben was asked to do part of the funeral. We were sitting on the front row. The church obviously has so many relationships, it's just packed. And 30 seconds before Ben went on, I said, what are you going to say? And he said, I have no idea. And of course, I was nervous for him when he says, I have no idea. But you went up there, and it was one of those kind of magical moments where the Lord supplied everything exactly how you should have said it. Like, it was just extremely moving. And in that moment, I felt specifically the Lord say to me, Ben is going back to the pulpit at some point. And there was no specifics other than that. And so we got in the car afterwards after feeling so loved by that church. I mean, there were so many people there who had been a part of that church when we were there. And we got in the car, and I mean, I hadn't even closed the door, and I was like, God told me we're going back to the church. He said, what? And I said, I don't know when, and I don't know when, and I don't know where. And at that point, Jack had several years left. And so I just assumed it would be a while until Jack graduated. But we just at that moment said, we're going to be open-handed, and we're going to be willing to pray about it, at least, if that it would be in God's future for us. And so we did. And then you can kind of take it from there, how you want to go.
We knew at that moment we needed to also kind of get our house in order in terms of things at Lifeway. If God was going to call us back to local church, was Lifeway ready for transition? And one of the things that we committed to doing was when a real church opportunity came to us, I would go immediately to some of my main leaders at Lifeway, and we would talk through it. I didn't want it to be a surprise to anybody. So a real opportunity came about a couple of months after that. Mm-hmm. We got a call from the search team of Bellevue Baptist Church. I talked to their chairman.
It was about 9 months afterwards.
Yeah, about 9 months later. And they wanted to talk, and we thought, okay, Bellevue is a church we think a lot of. We have a lot of history of that church. We raised our kids in West Tennessee, so we know the culture of West Tennessee. And it really felt at first that like this was happening.
I would also say it's not a church who has a pastor for a few years and they move on. I mean, their pastors currently, historically, have stayed. And Ben and I have come to this place now. We've moved a lot. We're ready to settle. Like, we want to go somewhere and be somewhere.
Stay there for 20 years, Lord willing.
Yeah.
So when that became a reality and we started having discussions with Bellevue, I went to our board officers here at Lifeway. I spoke to a couple of our top officials and just began to say, it seems like God is stirring in us a desire to return to the local church. And it would be good for you all to just be aware and be thinking about the process. Mm-hmm. And so in the middle of that, they went through the bylaws and the presidential search process and made sure everything was clean and current. So a lot of really good work was being done. And then out of the blue, you and I just began to feel very uncertain about that. The timing felt off. We have a son going into a senior year of high school, and I pulled my name out
In January.
And informed the board officers I had pulled my name out and the staff that I had told. And it all kind of went away for a couple months. We thought we were free and clear to like dig back in at Lifeway and kind of refocus. And then in April, another conversation happened with their chairman that they had not found the right person and wondered if we would have a conversation. And at that point, I felt pretty strongly, as did you, that this was moving in that direction. So 2 days before the Southern Baptist Convention, which was heartrending, they offered us the position, and I went to the SBC this year kind of knowing that this would be my last year as representing Lifeway as the president. And I would say this, since the moment I announced, everyone at Lifeway has been, everyone, unbelievably kind, loving, warm, supportive. It's a really happy ending to the story here. And on the other side, it's been very rich to be re-entering a local church that is just, grateful, really grateful for their pastor and wife, but also excited about a new day. So it's a really bittersweet experience. What did I leave out?
Well, a lot, but that was the quick version. I think one cool part of this is that, you mentioned Jack going into a senior year, which is why we pulled out. The search committee was so kind to us to say, we understand that. We still think you're the guy, Lynley, if you want to stay back with Jack. And us just figure out a commute process that we would. Because at that point, Jack was just adamantly like, I will not move. I am not going to move. He was never hateful about it or angry about it. He just said, please don't make me. Like, I've got these 4 buddies that he just loves. And so we agreed to that. 10 months of commuting for us is different than pulling a child out of a senior year. But we prayed, what is the right thing to do? And Jack came to us after 4th of July. At this point, we're recording like 3.5 weeks ago. And he said, I really want to move with you guys for my senior year. And at that point, we didn't let him backtrack because there was a sad day. He went and told his friends, and I'll probably cry here, but he wanted to go. And then when he talked to his friends, they said they were sad. And their parents are sad. And so he kind of was like, oh, maybe I made the wrong decision. But at that point, we just said, you know what, let's do this as a family. And he's in agreement. And some of the sweetest things happened. The school he's going to, he's already made the golf team. He's gone for golf pictures the first time. He loves the guys already. They're texting. He's driving over Saturday to play golf with these new boys as a senior. And the thing that I keep telling Jack is that he will have the advantage of having friends there when he comes home in summer from college and stuff that our other kids will not have. They're going to be strangers to Memphis. And so he has this really special year. And so, just the way that God worked in his heart, we didn't have to push, we didn't force. He's not going begrudgingly. He's not going angry. He's going excited. And so that to me was a really sweet moment.
One of the things that Angie asked us to talk about was just how do we know when it's time? Because that's a question a lot of folks on this podcast are asking themselves. Like, how do I know when I've stayed too long or not enough? And, it's such an art, not a science, and it's spiritually discerned. But, as I think back on this journey, I knew that God was calling me away when the dream of leading a church in my mind felt way more exciting than leading Lifeway into the future. And that's not fair to Lifeway. If God's put a new dream on my heart to go back to being a pastor, I've got to be honest about that's the thing that now is making my heart beat fast. And I didn't want to spend more time walking into meetings at Lifeway when I felt like I wasn't the most excited person in the room. And a scripture that has meant a lot to us when we started Storyline, it was Acts 17 where Paul said, from one man God made every nation of men that they should inhabit the whole earth, and he determined the exact times and places where they should live. And so there does seem to be a boundary marker on our times, our chapters. And when we re-engaged with Bellevue in April, it felt really clear to me that God had already begun moving our hearts on, and this was like confirmation of that. And on top of that, Lifeway is now in a really great spot. I'm not leaving Lifeway in a tough spot. It's in a really great spot. So I feel like that's a big part of the release that I feel, and that The company is strong financially, culturally. We've got great people, and now another president can come along, pick it up, and take it into the next season. And I feel like I've led it through the changes I was supposed to lead it through, and now it's somebody else's job. What do you think?
I have a couple of things with that. I think when you talk about resistance and the call, there was actually no reason that we backed out in January except for that we were impatient. It was not moving at the speed that we thought. And so it was like, well, because it's not moving at the speed we think it should be moving at, surely that's not the right thing.
Yeah.
And so when that happened, we both knew immediately. We talked about it. It was a little bit of a Jonah moment. Like, we knew that had not been the will of God. And so, but we just had to live with it. And if they didn't call us back, they didn't call us back. Like, we didn't try to manipulate the situation. And, we didn't call back after a few weeks and say, you know what, we made a mistake. We really did want to do this. Because at that point we felt like if this is God's will, like, no man can hinder it. And so when they did call back mid-April, it was kind of like, okay, like, we know that this is the right thing. And I will say this, you may cut this, but probably not, because that's always when people leave it in here.
This is going to be the best part of the show right here.
No, you and I had a lot of conversations where you had said, Lynley, my vision has weakened for the company. Like, I feel like I came in and I did what I was supposed to do to create culture, to get it to a healthy place, but I'm not a businessman and I don't know what to do at this point. Like, when people ask me, we'd go to places and people would say to you, what's your vision for Lifeway in 5-10 years? And you'd always kind of stumble through it, eloquently, because you're an eloquent stumbler, but, it was kind of like, I'm just not sure. And so I think even in that, we were processing like that. Surely the Lord is kind of loosening heartstrings, because he would be giving you a vision if he felt like we should stay here.
Yeah, I think a certain gifting, God gives leaders to an organization with a certain gifting, a certain passion, and there's a season for that. Mm-hmm. That happened in our first church. In our first church at Inglewood, we had outgrown our space. We had this major study done. We had our top leaders in a room, and they decided to go multi-site. I knew that very night that they decided that was the right decision for Inglewood. That was not the right decision for me. Mm-hmm. I did not feel called or excited at that point to start a multi-site. I just didn't feel wired up for that. Mm-hmm. So as I think about some of the problems that Lifeway is going to face in the future, which are real problems like every business has, I no longer feel like I'm the best person to help solve those problems. There's other people that are going to be better than that. We were sent here to solve a particular set of problems, and now it's done. People ask me, what's it feel like? It feels like right now, like when I graduated from college. Do you remember when you graduated from college? Like, I remember at graduation thinking like, man, I know it's over, but I don't want to say goodbye to all my friends.
I was already married.
Sorry.
So I don't know that, but
you have a weird story. But man, I remember standing there thinking, man, I know I don't want to go on to school anymore, but I also don't want to leave all my pals. And man, we love people at Lifeway, mm-hmm. and it's like family. So it's really hard. But at the same time, they understand and know that nothing's forever. Mm-hmm. So
like the podcast. And
here we are. One of the questions that we probably should answer is, how has this been for our marriage, this calling? Because if you go back to episode 1.
Which don't.
Not proud of episode 1.
It was such a different Ben and Lynley.
We had major marital discomfort. It was tough. Coming to Lifeway was so tough because I felt very called to it. You were neutral.
At best.
And so, at one point you just said, you're going to have to make the decision because I don't know how I feel about it. So I made the decision. And then when we got here, there were a whole lot of things that happened we had not anticipated. So it created a lot of what ifs. Did we do the right thing? This has been entirely different. Mm-hmm. How has it been different for you?
What's been hard for me is that typically in ministry couples, both people have a ministry call. And so at Inglewood, at Storyline, I felt like God had called me to ministry as well. And then at Lifeway, it never fit right. Like, I just never felt like I had the right fit here. My personality, I wasn't needed. I wasn't wanted in some rooms. That doesn't mean that I haven't enjoyed it. Like, there's great people. I was 10 minutes late walking into the studio because I was talking to people that I love dearly here. But the giftings that I have was not necessarily the right fit.
Well, and some of that was our false expectations that a corporate setting would feel like a church setting.
Of course. Yeah, no, that's all my fault.
We were naive.
Right. So we were naive, and we have also worked through that a lot. One of the hardest things is that April 1st, Lifeway did hire me part-time, like an hourly thing. And, I reported up to Joe Walker, and, we were moving forward towards a thing that was called Coordinator of Milestones and Moments, and making big deals of things like that. And then it was April 16th when you got that call, and I'm sitting in these meetings, and people are training me on different formats that Lifeway uses, and I'm just having to fake it because it was so hard. I mean, it was so hard because I knew that this was not going to take. But with the pastor search committee at Bellevue, we met with them for about 12 hours total in 3 different meetings, maybe a little bit less. And the third one, we had basically just said, hey, we have to know what's happening here. It's been months and months, and then weeks and weeks, and it was not a hostile meeting. It was just we just have
point of decision.
Yeah, like just tell us yes or no. And they said, well, we're really concerned about you guys having this last year apart, and how hard that will be on your family and your marriage. And they were very kind in this. Their concern was loving and pure. And you can kind of elaborate here, but just
I just told them, like, look, we learned a lot in being called to Lifeway. We're lockstep on this, like 100% together. But another point I want to just make clear is,
no, you had said, hang on, you said 30 more days of not knowing will be harder on our marriage than 10 months of driving back and forth, because we both feel called to this, and we're ready to move forward on it.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Okay, what was your other point?
Well, this is stating the obvious, but the search team for Lifeway Christian Resources didn't even meet you till after they offered me the position.
Yeah.
You were involved in every interview at Bellevue. Mm-hmm. Like, churches and corporations just do this very differently. So it was much easier on our marriage for us to be talking about this all the way through. We were both experiencing the calling together. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I would say to people out there who are feeling called to a church. You definitely want to see the interview process largely as something you're doing together. Mm-hmm. There was one part of one meeting where they asked you to step out when they asked me a bunch of theological stuff, and they really wanted you to go and enjoy some time with some ladies.
Yeah, several of the women.
But for the most part, it was all together. So the whole process was so different, and I think we learned a lot in our call here. And there's no hard feelings. Like, neither one of us harbor any bitterness about it. It's just night and day different.
Yeah.
But I am glad that God made it so abundantly clear to both of us. And then when they offered us the position, we didn't really feel like we needed to pray about it anymore. We knew if they were going to offer it to us, we were ready, and we were. Mm-hmm. So with the call, as we think about moving on from Lifeway and saying goodbye to our listeners at the Glass House, which have become so many of you dear friends, we thought it might be fun to do a little bit of a highlight reel of things that have stuck with us through. It's hard. This was really hard exercise for me because I can think of every episode, like there was something in that episode I really liked. Yeah. But for whatever reason, based on what I was going through in that moment, there were a few statements that really met a need for me and rung a bell for me. And I thought it might be fun to do a little bell ringing.
Okay. You want me to start?
Yep.
I'm going way back to the beginning. So episode 3 for me, which was Derwin and Vicki Gray, the point she talked about of overfunctioning I still remember it. I still think about it. I'm especially thinking about it moving back into pastoral ministry, like which people that we are going to meet, what staff at Bellevue do we not even know that may be overfunctioning and not allowing other people to be using their gifts properly. Who's underfunctioning? There may be some of those, you never know. So I just like the way she talked about it, how when we do that, and people, my personality who tend to control things, we rob other people of the opportunities for them to function. Do you need that?
What was the Paul Tripp episode?
Oh, that's the one I didn't write which number it was.
Man.
Sorry.
Look up the Paul Tripp episode. But there's a couple things I remember about that episode.
Yeah.
Number one, I couldn't stop looking at his mustache. I mean, it's a signature.
Yeah.
As he was talking, I was watching his mustache. But there was a story he told that I'm like never going to be able to forget about when he was mad at his church one Sunday. He was like brand new pastor, and like right in the middle of the sermon, I think he resigned. And he quit. And he went home, and an older man came and knocked on his door and said, Paul, you're immature. How are we ever going to get a mature pastor if all the immature ones keep quitting? And I remember in that moment just realizing I was immature in a lot of things. You know, even in my late 40s, there's still so many things that I'm childish about. How maturity is really something that is always happening in our lives. I mean,
do you want to talk about that?
About which things I'm immature about? No, I think you're probably going to be able to point those out better than me.
I'm not going to do that. I've changed my ammo.
Okay.
I'm here to support and uplift.
Well, that goes back to the you just prompted another. Kyle and Christine Hoover, early on, he referred to himself as emotionally immature.
Yeah.
And he's a pastor.
Oh, yeah.
And how he had to pull over on the side of the road and get a feelings wheel out to be able to articulate to his wife one feeling he had that day. And he's like, I realize I'm just emotionally immature. I need to mature in the way I name my feelings. And, you know, pastors just aren't very good at talking about their own immaturity. We're supposed to be the ones that help other people mature. And it just really humbled me that two people I respect like that recognized in key moments of their lives that they were just kind of childish. And like, it was okay to say that.
Yeah. If you are an avid listener to The Glass House, you will notice, so episode 96 was Mark and Jenna Halleck, and a lot of The Glass House shifted, the tone of it shifted after that episode, because I was so challenged by them on their just pure love for their staff. Sometimes we can get so caught up in the negativity and all the bad things about living in the Glass House. And they just were both, if you go back, if you watch it, if you listen to it, I don't even know if you can watch it, but they had big smiles. They loved their church. They loved their staff. At the same time of that episode, I was working through Visioneering with Corey and Melody Kane over in East Tennessee. And every time I see Melody Kane, she says to me, I love our church. Our people are so good. Everybody in our church is so good to us. They're so loving. I mean, she just sings their praises. And those two working in conjunction in my life, I was like, wait, we're talking about this all the wrong way. Like, there are hard things for sure. We've highlighted so many of them, but there are really, really good things. And so that episode kind of changed, like sparked something in my heart to turn it towards like, wait, let's talk about the good.
Yeah. I really enjoyed listening to the episodes where you interviewed pastors' wives, like the Through the Decades ones. It was fun for me to listen to those in my car because I wasn't a part of the conversation. I was kind of like interested in what you all
Did you actually listen to those?
I did. I've told you this. I thought they were great.
Okay.
I thought the women had so much wisdom, and it was such a cool idea of like looking back over the decades at different things that they've learned. One thing I've grown to appreciate through this podcast is just the importance of calling on wise older people. Mike Minter, the episode with him, I had coffee with him this week, and I came home from coffee, and I told you, I was like, when I'm 81 years old, I want to be Mike Minter.
He's episode 60. I wrote him down. He's episode 60.
It's just like he's 81 years old, but he acts like he's 39. Like, he's just so full of joy and energy and loves the Bible, and he just...
Did you say he acts like he's 39?
Yeah.
What about that? Age is magical.
I don't know. I just pulled that out.
Oh.
It just felt right.
Did you have a great year at 39?
I don't know. I just felt right. He just has this way of infecting people with excitement and enthusiasm. And that's a gift. You know, he has a lot of one-liners and wisdom, but when you see an 81-year-old man that carries himself with that much joy, he's done some things right, particularly when he pastored the same church for 50 years. So the Mike Minter episode really stuck with me.
Okay, I'm going quickly, and then you can do another one. But Steve Cuss, one of his episodes when he told me, it's okay for me not to be sweet. Like, at the end, it was a really teary moment because he's the first person that had validated, like, it's okay for you not to be, quote unquote, sweet. Like, you are made exactly how God wants you to be, and you shouldn't change that. And I was like, wait, nobody has ever told me that I didn't have to desire to be sweet.
Steve's amazing. He's one of those people I feel like I could listen to all day. So good. Do you remember the episode, like, when we used to do this in different locations? You know, we used to pack up all of our podcast equipment and take it on the road with us and set it up ourselves.
We lost a few to being eaten to the dogs. Like, the dogs ate some
That's
microphone
right.
heads along the way.
But early on, we packed it up and took it to Colorado.
Yeah.
And we went into our neighbors' houses from Colorado, and we talked about what was it like becoming friends with us as Christians when you guys came from a non-religious context? I just remember feeling like that was one of the most fun, honest conversations I've ever had in my life. And they were getting so much joy out of being on a Christian podcast.
Yeah.
As non-believing people, they were just like really excited to be a part of our program. And I just remember feeling like this is a really weird thing that's happening right here. And I love it. That was special. And then there was a time we had our daughter on, Ava.
Yes.
Who just got married last week. And I remember in that episode thinking, this child is saying some really profound things. Like, and we didn't teach her this. Like, God's given her a spirit of being able to discern. And I remember feeling really thankful.
What was interesting about that one to me was that I probably received 100 responses of, you two sound just alike. Even my own mother, my mom called me and was like, I couldn't tell when Ava stopped and when you started.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And I was like, how can you not tell? Like, we don't sound anything alike, but everybody said we do. And then now people say that about my mom. So we're just like a trio of the same voice, apparently.
Yeah. So many great moments.
Yep.
And the episodes and the guests were fantastic. But I really do mean this. The absolute best part of this are the people in this room who have done this with us. Donnie and Angie and Dale early on. And Heather and everybody who just gets... We have had so many off the mic hilarious moments.
If we could have an outtakes episode.
I'm going to miss Donnie sending us the outtake clip of the week by text.
There's a few like, Donnie, are you chiming in?
The things that I can't share that I want to share, like dinner conversations about who's picking up what and when, who's picking up which kid and when.
Sure.
Yep.
I know more about Mandrell logistics than I ever asked to know.
I understand.
And I'm blessed.
We just want to say what a joy it's been. And I want to say thanks to Joy Almond. Joy's not here. She moved on to Christianity Today, has a great job there. But this whole thing really was a big part of her job at first. Was she would edit every single word and spent untold hours and never would have gotten to the place where Angie could come along and help us had Joy really not put the time in and dressed up like a pilgrim one day.
On Thanksgiving, we had a Thanksgiving,
a get together, and we said, "Let's."
No, it was like a meeting of me, you, Heather, and Joy.
It was a glass house meeting.
Yeah, and Heather was there to help us get everything scheduled, and it was Thanksgiving week, and Joy dressed up like a full pilgrim outfit.
If we have that picture, we got to drop that in the show notes.
There was another day. There was a pajama day. We did a pajama day.
No, what happened was we thought the meetings were getting boring, so we added a costume element.
Yes.
Like everybody wore a costume, and Joy went all out. She took it to a new level.
She did.
So shout out to Joy Almond and Greg, her amazing husband. So many great people we've met along this way. So we hope you'll keep up with us. We hope you'll follow us at Bellevue. If you're ever in Memphis, come and say hi and stop by in the front. Follow us on the YouTube channel there. We hope you'll stay in touch because it really has been like a family. Before we sign off, people might be asking what's going to happen to all this content, all these great conversations. It's going to continue to live here. You can go back and access 148 episodes. And some of those are, many of them just as relevant today as they were the day we recorded them. So it'll still be there for you. And we are giving the Glass House to Lifeway. And we hope maybe the next president or someone will come along and carry it into the future. We don't know what the future holds. But for now, we are moving on to Bellevue, and we're so grateful for every minute of your life you've allowed us to take up. Thanks for being a part of the Glass House. The Glass House is a production of Lifeway, executive produced by Angie Elkins, edited and engineered by Donnie Gordon. Show notes and social media by Nikki Ogden, photography Emily Bergeron and Bailey Watley. Recorded at the Lifeway Podcast Studio in Brentwood, Tennessee.